Hi there, I'm Jonathan Healy. You're very welcome to People and Perspectives. We're going to be speaking with an entrepreneur with a diverse and fascinating background. Along with his wife Oksana, Miceal OHurley is the founder of Fantastic Flavours Ice Cream Parlour in Youghal in County Cork in the Republic of Ireland. Miceal, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Now, you have had one hell of a year. Fantastic Flavours Ice Cream Parlour was named one of Ireland's best ice cream parlours by the Irish Independent, by the Irish Sun, by Taste magazine. You were named one of Ireland's 4 great ice cream parlours by Get Out, Find Out, and you and your wife Oksana were winners of the Food Awards Ireland 2017 Dessert Outlet of the Year. And on top of all of that, you managed somewhere to have a new baby, Blondet, and she's a lovely baby. I met her a while ago. Tell me a little bit about the year you've just had.
We can't be more pleased than with Blondet. I mean, my wife was just over the moon. It was a nice delivery. Both of them were healthy, and she's flying. We couldn't be more pleased.
She's a great little kid. I met her a minute ago. She really is a bundle of joy.
Thank you.
So amid all of that excitement of the new baby, and you had all of those awards, were you surprised that Fantastic Flavours got all those accolades?
Well, we were. I mean, almost every year since we started 5 years ago, we've been gaining more and more recognition. Customers seem to like us, and we appreciate that. Customer service is a big part of our business, not only the artisan food, but delivering it in a way that makes people happy. And finally being recognized by so many different publications and winning the Food Awards Ireland Dessert Outlet of the Year, we couldn't be more chuffed.
Yeah, awards do make it a little easier, don't they? They really do. You and Oksana have really interesting backgrounds. So I can't wait to talk about you, but I really do want to talk about her first, out of decency and respect for the person, probably the brains behind the operation.
She is.
Tell me a little bit about her.
My wife's a remarkable person. She was born in Ukraine under the Soviet system, and Ukraine gained its independence. So it went from a Russian-speaking system to Ukrainian-speaking. The culture changed. It became more Western. And she went to business school, got a master's in languages. She speaks German fluently and several other languages. She became an HR specialist and trainer for Vodafone Ukraine, and she's won many awards for it. And we met in Kyiv. We dated and nurtured our relationship, and we were lucky enough to get married. And now I have her by my side. So she really adds that customer service aspect to the food aspect, which I bring to the table. And it's a good fusion, and we've had a great experience and a good time.
So at what point did ice cream become the thing? Did the two of you realize, hey, we can do something pretty creative here that isn't being done in the same way by anybody else? I mean, it's not the natural starting point in a relationship, never mind a business relationship.
The economy kind of dictated what we would do. My background is in politics in the United States. I worked in the United States House of Representatives, United States Senate, worked with the White House, defense and security analyst.
None of which are ice cream related, we have to say.
No, but they're all located in the deep American South, and Washington, D.C. gets very hot. I bought an ice cream maker at a car boot sale in 1983, and ever since then I've been honing my craft, developing my recipes, and people seem to like my ice cream. So when the economy fell apart here in Ireland after the Celtic Tiger, I needed to kind of reinvent myself. So turning my hobby into a business seemed like the natural thing to do. And like I said, she brings great organization, intelligence, and customer service skills. So it seemed to have worked out well for us.
Now you've kind of glanced over your own background a little bit there. So let's talk about you a little bit more. You served as a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne, where you got the Distinguished Trooper Medal. You went on to serve in the JFK Special Warfare Center as an Elite Airborne Ranger, where you got the honor graduate of your NCO Academy class. You were decorated for exceptional heroism in combat with one of America's highest decorations, the Bronze Star Medal with Valor. You served as legislative assistant and then later counsel in the United States Congress. You worked with congressional and presidential campaigns. You wrote a few books, including The Passionate Steward in 2002, and you did a lot of philanthropic work with universities and colleges and hospitals and so on. And I think at one point you and Oksana were described by the Huffington Post as a power couple.
They did. You have to wonder about that writer.
How did that crown sit on your head?
I tell you, one of the great things about all these accolades and winning all these awards is it makes you wake up and do your best every single day, because no longer do people say, there's a trier. people say that person won an award and I expect them to deliver a high quality of service and product every day. So it's brought a lot more pressure to our lives. And
So have you used all of that experience, that broad experience that you have from being a soldier to being involved in the legislative process, now ice cream? How are you using your skill set?
well, let me tell you, as a soldier, one of the things I learned as a sergeant is the sergeant eats last. And when you run a restaurant, you make sure all the employees are happy, they get fed first, they get their break first. So a lot of those skill sets transfer, those leadership skills work whether you're a soldier in the field, whether you're running a Fortune 500 company, or whether you're running a small little cafe that makes handmade artisan ice cream. It's all the same thing. Leadership happens at every level of the game, large and small businesses, in nonprofit sector and in the profit sector.
You are a political beast in many ways. You'd have to have been to have gone through all of those roles. And when you're working in Capitol Hill, when you're there at Congress watching that process, you really get involved, but it's high pressure. Do you miss it now that you're not there?
There are times where I miss it. I turn on the evening news and I see the great drama, the great important things happening. But I always tell people, I was a low person in high places. I was a witness to great things. I used to sit and see Ted Kennedy and Tip O'Neill sit and have a drink and discuss the old times. I was an observer to all those things, not so much an actor. I played my small part, but I was very fortunate that very powerful and influential people liked me, put me on their staffs, and I had great experiences. And I hope I contributed something in my public service.
And when you look now at how government has changed and almost how democracy has changed, I mean, are you happy that you're not there anymore?
No, I sometimes feel a call to do more, and I think I should have done more, because fundamentally a government is erected to serve the people, and I think they've lost that focus, whether it's in the United States or Ireland or Ukraine or anywhere else in the world. The government's role is to take care of its people, and I think the more we encourage young, talented people to take up a role in public life and maybe put aside high earnings until later in life, or high earnings people leave their careers and do public service, the better off the government will be and the better off society will be.
One of the ways that you can get young people involved is by getting them involved in charity work, philanthropic work, getting them to experience how others experience life. And you did that. I mean, that's part of your journey as well. And do we need to encourage young people to do that kind of thing more?
I think we do. I mean, I'm a Roman Catholic. I grew up in the pews. You see your parents put money into the plate. They volunteer. You learn by witnessing more than just reading. And I think one of the things we need to do is get parents more involved in society so that their children see that as a model. And I think the more we withdraw from that, the more we let the Bill Gates Foundation's good works that they do take the leadership role, and the less we expect ourselves to play, and the more we expect to get a holiday out of a bike trip rather than actually just sacrificing and giving out of our pocket to help a charity or a local club, the lesser we are as people. Giving changes who you are, whether it's your time, talent, or treasure. And I think it's something young people need to learn, and they're only going to learn it from their parents. So we need to model that in everyday society and promote it.
When I was looking back over all the things you did, there was one thing that stood out to me that I had to ask you a question about, and it was 2006, the Armenian Pope's visit to the United States, and you ended up as what? The spokesperson for the Armenian Pope.
I did. I had worked on a couple pontifical visits when Pope John Paul II came to the United States, and I was working with the Armenian Diocese of America. The Armenian Church is amazing. There's a story that I'll retell, that the Armenian Pope and Pope John Paul VI were on the balcony at St. Peter's Square, and they're looking out and waving, and the Armenian Pope says, "You have a great church, look at those people." And Pope Paul VI turned to him and says, "Yes, but yours is the church of martyrs." The Armenian people have been at the crossroads of the Byzantine Empire, Persia, the Greek Orthodox Church, Catholicism, the Protestant Reformation. They've paid a high price for their faith. So it was a great honor to be invited by them to help with that pontifical visit. He's a very interesting man. The Armenian people are kind of like us, the Irish. They lost 1.7 million people at the turn of the century after the Turks decided to engage in what is widely acclaimed to be a genocide. We lost millions of people in the 1840s with Angkor, the Great Hunger. Some people call it the famine. So we have a lot of similarities, although we have disparate cultures. And it was a great experience, and I was proud to do my part.
Let's bring the story up to right now and why you're in Youghal, this fantastic company, fantastic flavors ice cream. What brought you to Youghal? Of all the places you could have gone to in Ireland, why did you settle on this lovely historic town in East Cork?
If anybody's been to Youghal, the first thing you're captivated by is the ocean. The Celtic Sea is there, the shores are sandy and long. You can look across the peninsula to the head and see County Waterford. The Blackwater River sweeps up through the middle of Ireland. The Vikings loved the place because they could sail up the Blackwater River to a third of inland Ireland. It was a great seaport.
And rob it, by the way. They weren't coming there for any good reason.
Well, I think we'll all agree on that. But, you know, there's a great history there. St. Mary's Collegiate Church was built in 1220. When it was built, Henry III was the King of England. The Mongol Empire stretched from China to Eastern Europe. St. Francis of Assisi was off on crusade. Bonaventure hadn't done his great theology yet. So when you think about all of those ancient things, including the lighthouse at Alexandria still existing, one of the ancient wonders of the world, St. Mary's Collegiate Church was being built in Youghal. It really is part of the ancient world, and there's great stories. The last witch trial in Ireland was held in Youghal, Florence Newton. Oliver Cromwell.
How did it go for Florence?
Well, not well.
Not well.
Not well.
They tend not to.
But there's a great affinity between that and the United States, where the witch trials and the Puritans. Oliver Cromwell came to Ireland through the port of Youghal and left through the port of Youghal. There's just great, interesting things about Youghal. We're lucky to be there.
And it is a great potential tourist destination, a growing tourist destination as well. And you're now part of that journey. You're part of that experience to get people to come there, Americans, Europeans, Irish, everybody's welcome.
We say everybody's welcome in Youghal, and there's two reasons Youghal is on the verge of doing wonderful things with its redevelopment. It's people. Forget the tourism. The people that live in Youghal, day in and day out, 365 days a year, are some of the nicest, hardworking, generous people you'd want to meet. They're salt of the earth. And then you have this great community on the beach, a seaport, whether it's sailing or history or culture. The musical events in Youghal are wonderful. The food culture is great, and I'm glad to be a part of that. We have Clancy's out near the lighthouse. We have Ahern Seafood and Townhouse, which has an international reputation. We like to think we do our part. There's lovely cafes like the Coffee Pot, the Priory Coffee. There's lovely things about Youghal.
What is it about Ireland? I mean, from your perspective, as an Irish American, when you came and you live in the town now, the importance that's put on food, the importance that's put on food that is made locally, on food that's grown locally. I mean, is it hard to try and explain that until you experience it?
Well, you do have to experience it. And you talk to any of the chefs, whether we make ice cream or a meal or seafood, or whether the artists and craftspeople, there's something about the Irish working with our hands, living off the land. It's part of who we are. It's part of our experience, and it comes through in the food that we produce, the craft that we produce, the Jameson alcohol that we produce at the distillery in Middleton. It's really part of who we are, and people who experience it enjoy it. It's healthy, it's great produce. I mean, our dairy is some of the best in the world, and I'm lucky. I use Irish milk and cream every day, something other chefs would kill for.
When we think of ice cream, we think of the gelato. If you go to Italy, and it's fantastic. And in America, you guys do ice cream well, really well. Over here was a little bit of a slower build. We used to have one flavor of ice cream, now we have many. So when you're trying to introduce ice cream to the people of Youghal, were you as ambitious as you wanted to be initially, or did you just break everybody into it gently?
Well, a lot of people have traveled to the United States. A lot of people have traveled to Italy, so they tried these products. They weren't available at home. One of the things I think that helped is I allowed my children to name the flavors. We have Smurfberry Blast, which is a bubblegum ice cream, Scarlett O'Hara's Peach ice cream. We come up with all these crazy names and people love it. Our lemon flufferella. You get a lemon ice cream that's really fluffy. It's a new experience for a lot of people.
So, I mean, you told me about buying your first ice cream machine. It's not that easy. I mean, anyone who's tried to make ice cream knows it can go horribly wrong. So, I mean, how did you get it right?
Well, almost 30 years of experience helps. The other thing is using good ingredients. It really starts with the Irish milk and cream, very high quality. We source all of our ingredients locally wherever possible, and then skill.
You call it artisan, and there's a good reason why only certain ice cream can be called artisan.
Well, in legislation, we actually require that people make it locally in a small location, not for mass distribution. The person be of great high skill level and experience. It's not a style of ice cream, it speaks to the maker. And I'm proud to be called an artisan.
How many flavors?
Well, we say we have 42 flavors and more. We kind of got tired of reprinting stuff. Every time I go crazy, I invent a new flavor. So we actually counted the other day, we're up to 63, but we say more than 42 flavors. And if that's not enough, we don't know what to do.
And out of the 63, what's your favorite?
I think the mint chocolate chunk. I mean, making our own chocolate and making these great chunks as opposed to using prefabricated chips, using fresh mint, which is distilled from the local leaves that are grown, great flavor. It's really pleasing for everybody.
One of the ones I liked the name of when I was looking at the menu, the Oreo Schmorio.
Oreo Schmorio is a great story. I lived in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. In the 1800s, these were all Irish neighborhoods. They're Jewish neighborhoods now. I was the only Catholic in the building. And I used to make ice cream for the local kids. And there was this old lady upstairs, and she said, you know, Rabbi, you know, what's this guy feeding? Is it kosher? So he came down and checked out my food, and he thought it was great. And it actually ended up being kosher the way I made it, by accident, more than design. So the little kids would dance around her saying, Oreo, Oreo, and she would say, Oreo Schmorio. So it kind of stuck over the years.
You've based yourself on Youghal. Your life is in Youghal now. You've got a beautiful new daughter, as we mentioned, and you're living there with Oksana. Is that home?
I'm a New Yorker, but let's face it, Youghal is going to be where I am for the rest of my life. It's where my daughter calls home. It's where my children learn to swim and walk on the beach, ride horses. Youghal is home, and I'm glad to be part of that community. But
you're not denying the world your 63 flavors because you want fantastic flavors to become bigger than what it is right now.
We get approached by people all the time asking, you know, can we buy a franchise? Can we do this? And I'm always torn between keeping the quality, keeping it local, and then sharing it and teaching. I had a great experience a few weeks ago. A lad came down from Belfast and I taught him how to make ice cream. I'm about sharing the craft. Kids can take an ice cream making class in our shop and we give them artisan apprentice certificates because I want them to learn not only about what we do, it's not just as easy as pouring something in and pushing a button, but I want them to have respect for food and the farmers who grow and milk cows and do everything as part of our food supply. It's an important part of our fabric of life here in Ireland.
What's the dream? Where do you want this to go? I mean, do you want all of those lovely flavors being sampled all over the world? Do you want to keep it that nice little niche whereby it's an experience? If you get there, you have to make the effort.
Well, half of me wants it to stay local, half of it wants to go international, and the third half doesn't know. But the truth of it is, you know what I would love? I would love at my wake for people to come and say, I had the best times when I was a little kid, sitting in Fantastic Flavors with my parents, you know, playing the Brainiac game, playing Youghalopoly, learning about all the ice cream ingredients, making ice cream. It was part of my childhood and was a great experience. If that happens, I'd be a happy man.
To all the Americans watching this right now, you want them to come to Youghal, don't you?
I do. We make a delicious ice cream called Donald Trumpalicious. It's a fiery marshmallow, a lot of fluff, but the truth of it is, everybody should come to Youghal. We've got great flights, 129 euros to go from Boston Providence Airport to Cork Airport. Our first transatlantic flights, which we were part of celebrating last year. There's never been a better time to come to Ireland to experience its culture, especially for young Irish Americans who don't know the Ireland their parents knew, but want to experience the new Ireland, our food culture, and our historic traditional culture as well.
And there's so much for them to see, and we invite them all with open arms. Miceal O'Hurley, it's been an absolute pleasure. We wish you and Oksana and Blonded and everybody involved with Fantastic Flavors Ice Cream Parlors the very best. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jonathan.
And now we get to speak to the other side of the partnership. Oksana O'Hurley, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
I'm well. Tell me about your journey to get to this point where you have been involved with Fantastic Flavors. If Miceal was making ice cream since he was a boy, when did you start?
I was working in the big company in Vodafone, Ukraine, and when I moved to Ireland, I joined the family business, and I tried to use my experience working in customer service in a big company. I tried to use it in family business, and it's fantastic because it worked, and I see the result every day, and I really like it.
Miceal told us about how you met in Kiev.
Right.
And then he ended up in Youghal. What's
That's
that been
true.
like?
Youghal, it's a very nice town, and we really enjoy living there. And it's very nice living with the baby because it's just it's the town that really gives a certain lifestyle, and it's really great for a family life and for having small business there.
The company has such huge potential. I mean, do you share that dream with Miceal, really, don't
Absolutely,
you? Yeah.
of course.
Where
Yes,
could this
absolutely.
go?
We hope to open the same business in Ukraine because I'm from Ukraine, so for me it would be very nice to do it in my native country as well. And we hope franchise the business in Ireland as well.
I've met everybody now at this stage, except the most important person. We better bring Blonded in, will we?
Of
Let's
course.
bring her in, Miceal.
Yes. Here we have Blonded.
She's the
Let's meet
happiest
Blonded.
baby. Hello.
Yes,
You are going to be so full of ice cream by the time you're 10.
that's true.
She's gorgeous.